Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Starbound and looked out at the blue planet below. After 3 months of travel through space, they had finally reached Velthos Prime. This was supposed to be a simple first contact mission. Meet the aliens, shake hands, sign some trade papers, and go home. Jake had done this kind of thing many times before. "Captain, we're getting a message from the planet," said Lieutenant Amy Collins from her station. Amy was the ship's best language expert and diplomat. She had spent months learning about the Velthari people and their customs. "Put it on screen," Jake said. The view screen showed a tall, elegant being with skin that looked like it was made of blue crystal. She had 4 arms and wore flowing robes covered in golden patterns. Her face was beautiful, but clearly not human, with large silver eyes and no nose. "Greetings, humans from Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Princess Zara of the Velthari Empire. We welcome you to our world. Please come down to our capital city so we can meet properly." Jake smiled. "Thank you, Princess. We're honored to be here. We'll come down in our shuttle right away." 2 hours later, Jake, Amy, and 4 other crew members walked through the grand palace of the Velthari. The walls were made of the same crystal-like material as the alien's skin, and they glowed with soft blue light. Everything was much bigger than human size, which made Jake feel small. They entered a huge throne room filled with hundreds of Velthari nobles. All of them had the same crystal skin but in different colors, some blue, some green, some purple. They all had 4 arms and were much taller than humans. Princess Zara sat on a throne that looked like it was carved from a single giant diamond. "Welcome. Captain Morrison," Princess Zara said as she stood up. "Please come forward so we can perform the greeting of friendship." Jake walked toward the throne while Amy stayed back with the other crew members. He had studied the basic customs, and he thought he knew what to expect. A simple handshake, maybe a bow, nothing too complicated. Princess Zara stepped down from her throne and walked toward Jake. She was even more beautiful up close, and her crystal skin seemed to glow from inside. She was also much taller than Jake, at least 7 feet tall. "In our culture," she said with a warm smile, "friends greet each other by sharing breath and touching souls." She moved closer to Jake. "Please, place your forehead against mine and breathe with me." Jake looked back at Amy, who gave him a quick nod. This seemed harmless enough. He stepped forward and gently pressed his forehead against Princess Zara's. Her skin felt warm and smooth like polished stone that had been sitting in sunlight. "Now breathe in as I breathe out," she whispered. Jake did as she asked. He breathed in slowly while she breathed out. Her breath smelled like flowers and something else he couldn't identify. It made him feel dizzy in a pleasant way. Suddenly, the entire throne room erupted in cheers and celebration. All the Velthari nobles began singing in their own language, and flower petals fell from the ceiling. Musical instruments that Jake had never seen before started playing beautiful, complex melodies. Jake pulled back from Princess Zara, confused. "What's happening?" he asked. Princess Zara's silver eyes were wide with joy. "My beloved," she said, taking his hands in her forehands, "you have accepted my proposal of marriage. We are now engaged to be wed." Jake's face went pale. "What? No, I thought we were just doing a friendship greeting." Amy rushed forward, her portable translator device beeping frantically as she tried to access Velthari marriage customs. Her face turned white as she read the information on her screen. "Captain," she whispered urgently, "I think there's been a terrible mistake. The forehead touching and breath sharing. It's not a friendship greeting. It's how Velthari propose marriage. And by participating, you've accepted." The celebration continued around them. Velthari nobles were dancing and singing, completely unaware of the humans' confusion and panic. Princess Zara was glowing brighter than before, clearly overjoyed. "But I didn't know," Jake said to Amy, trying to keep his voice down. "Can we explain that it was a mistake?" Amy was frantically reading more information on her device. "Captain, this is bad, very bad. According to their customs, backing out of an engagement after the sacred breath sharing would be considered the highest form of insult. It could be seen as an act of war. Jake felt his heart sink. The whole reason they were here was to establish peaceful relations with the Velthari Empire. These aliens controlled 3 star systems and had technology that could help humanity expand into space. Starting a war over a misunderstanding would be a disaster. Princess Zara was still holding his hands and smiling at him with pure happiness. "My dear Jake," she said, "we must begin the bonding ritual immediately. It is our way. 3 nights of trials to prove that our souls are meant to be joined forever." 3 nights? Jake asked weakly. "Yes," Princess Zara said excitedly. "The first night tests physical compatibility. The second night tests mental harmony. The third night tests spiritual connection. If we succeed in all 3, we will be truly married in the eyes of my people and the universe itself." Amy was still reading frantically. She grabbed Jake's arm and pulled him aside. "Captain, I'm reading more about this ritual. It's extremely difficult. Most Velthari couples spend months preparing for it. The physical challenges alone are designed to push Velthari bodies to their limits. Human bodies are much weaker." "What happens if I fail?" Jake whispered. "If you fail or refuse to complete the ritual, Princess Zara and her people will consider it proof that humans are weak and untrustworthy. They'll break off all contact with Earth and warn other alien species not to deal with us." Jake looked around the celebration. These aliens seemed genuinely happy and excited. Princess Zara was beautiful and kind, and her people were welcoming. But he had no idea what he was getting into. An old Velthari noble approached them. He had dark purple crystal skin and wore robes that marked him as some kind of high priest or advisor. "Captain Morrison," he said in a deep voice, "I am High Counselor Vex. I must tell you about the bonding ritual. It begins at sunset tonight, and cannot be stopped once it starts. Are you prepared to prove your worthiness to marry our beloved princess?" Jake looked at Amy, who was still pale with worry. He looked at Princess Zara, who was watching him with hopeful eyes. He thought about his ship in orbit above, full of crew members counting on him to secure this alliance. There was no way out. He had to try to survive the next 3 nights, no matter how impossible it seemed. "Yes," Jake said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I'm ready." The celebration grew even louder, and Jake wondered if he had just signed his own death sentence. As the sun began to set over Velthos Prime, Jake found himself in a large circular chamber deep inside the palace. The walls were covered with glowing crystals that pulsed with different colors. In the center of the room was a complex obstacle course that looked like it had been designed to torture people. Princess Zara entered the chamber wearing a simple white outfit that showed off her 4 muscular arms. Jake was wearing his best attempt at workout clothes, a plain t-shirt and pants that the ship's computer had made for him. "Do not worry, my beloved Jake," Princess Zara said with a gentle smile. "The first trial is simple. We must complete the physical challenges together. It will show that our bodies can work as one." Jake looked at the obstacle course and gulped. There were climbing walls that went up at least 50 feet, balance beams that were only a few inches wide, and heavy weights that looked like they weighed more than a small car. "What exactly do I need to do?" Jake asked. "We start with the warm-up. Exercises," Princess Zara said. She moved to the center of the room and began stretching. Jake watched in amazement as she bent her body in ways that seemed impossible. She could touch the floor without bending her knees, and she could twist her torso almost completely around. Jake tried to copy her movements, but his human body was much less flexible. When he tried to bend forward, he could barely touch his knees. Princess Zara watched him with curiosity. "Your body is different from ours," she said. "But that is okay. We will adapt." Up in orbit, Dr. Lisa Parker was watching Jake's vital signs on her medical equipment. She was talking to him through a tiny radio hidden in his ear. "Jake, your heart rate is already elevated and you haven't even started yet," Dr. Parker's voice said quietly. "I'm going to inject some performance enhancers into your bloodstream through the medical patch on your back. It should help with strength and endurance." Jake felt a small tingling sensation as the drugs entered his system. Almost immediately, he felt stronger and more alert. The first real challenge was the climbing wall. Princess Zara went first, using all 4 of her arms to climb the smooth crystal surface like a spider. She reached the top in less than 30 seconds and looked down at Jake expectantly. Jake approached the wall and tried to find handholds. The crystal surface was smooth and slippery. He managed to climb about 10 feet before his arms gave out and he fell to the padded floor below. Princess Zara climbed back down quickly. "Are you hurt?" she asked with concern. "I'm okay," Jake said, getting back to his feet. "But I don't think I can climb that wall the same way you do." Chief Engineer Carlos Rodriguez's voice came through Jake's earpiece. "Captain, I'm watching through the security cameras we set up. Try using the crystal formations as steps instead of handholds. Look for the ones that stick out further." Jake studied the wall more carefully and saw what Carlos meant. Some of the crystal formations protruded more than others, creating a kind of staircase if you looked at it right. Instead of trying to climb straight up like Princess Zara, Jake took a zigzag path moving from crystal to crystal. It took him much longer, and he was breathing hard by the time he reached the top, but he made it. Princess Zara clapped all 4 of her hands together with delight. "Wonderful," she said. "You think differently than we do. That is very interesting." The next challenge was even harder. They had to carry heavy weights across a series of narrow balance beams while avoiding swinging pendulums. Princess Zara picked up a weight that must have weighed 300 pounds and carried it easily with 2 of her arms, while using the other 2 for balance. Jake could barely lift the weight, let alone carry it across the balance beam. He tried several times and kept falling off. Princess Zara watched him with growing concern. "Perhaps we should make the weight smaller," she suggested. "No," Jake said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "If this is about proving compatibility, then we need to do it the right way." Jake thought about the problem differently. Instead of trying to carry the weight like Princess Zara did, he dragged it across the balance beam, using his lower center of gravity to stay balanced. It was slower and much harder work, but it worked. Dr. Parker's voice came through his earpiece again. "Jake, your body temperature is dangerously high, and your muscle fatigue levels are through the roof. I'm giving you another dose of stimulants, but this can't last much longer." The challenges kept coming. There was a test where they had to jump across a pit filled with water while carrying glowing orbs. There was another where they had to work together to solve a physical puzzle involving moving heavy blocks into the right positions. Each time, Jake's human limitations seemed to make the task impossible. But each time, he found a different way to approach the problem. When he couldn't jump as far as Princess Zara, he used the walls to bounce across the pit. When he couldn't lift the heavy blocks, he used leverage and simple machines to move them. Princess Zara was fascinated by his creative solutions. "Your people must be very clever," she said during a brief rest period. "We Velthari are strong and fast, but we always do things the same way our ancestors did. You find new paths." The final challenge of the night was the most difficult. Jake and Princess Zara had to climb a tall tower together while the room spun around them, creating artificial gravity that pulled in different directions. Princess Zara's forearms and natural balance made this relatively easy for her. For Jake, it was like trying to climb a ladder during an earthquake while someone was spinning him in circles. Halfway up the tower, Jake's strength finally gave out completely. He was hanging from a crystal handhold, his muscles shaking with exhaustion, when Princess Zara climbed down to him. "Hold on to me," she said, wrapping 2 of her arms around him. "No," Jake gasped. "That would be cheating. This is supposed to test both of us. Then we fail together," Princess Zara said simply. "That is also a form of compatibility." But Jake had one more idea. He had noticed that the spinning room followed a pattern. If he timed his movements right, he could use the artificial gravity to help pull him up instead of fighting against it. "Wait," he told Princess Zara. "Let me try something." Jake watched the pattern of the spinning room carefully. When the gravity shifted to pull sideways, he swung himself to the next handhold. When it shifted to pull upward, he used the momentum to climb higher. It was like surfing on gravity waves. Princess Zara watched in amazement as Jake used the room's own spinning motion to help him climb. She had never seen anyone approach the challenge this way before. They reached the top of the tower together, just as the first rays of dawn began to shine through the crystal windows. The room stopped spinning, and Jake collapsed on the floor, completely exhausted. Princess Zara knelt beside him, her silver eyes shining with admiration. "You have passed the first trial," she said softly, "but not in the way I expected." "Did I do it wrong?" Jake asked weakly. "No," Princess Zara said with a smile. "You did it in a way that was completely your own. I have never seen such determination. Your body is weaker than ours, but your spirit refuses to give up. This is a kind of strength I did not know existed." High Counselor Vex entered the chamber, carrying a scroll covered in glowing symbols. "The first trial is complete," he announced. "Captain Morrison has proven that humans and Velthari can work together, even when their methods are very different. You may rest now, but remember, the second trial begins at sunset tonight." As Jake was helped to his recovery room, he could hear Princess Zara talking quietly to High Counselor Vex in their own language. He couldn't understand the words, but he could tell she was excited about something. Dr. Parker was waiting in his room with medical equipment. "Jake, I can't believe you survived that," she said as she checked his vital signs. "Your body should have given out hours ago. The stimulants I gave you were military grade." "I had to make it work," Jake said, as he collapsed onto the bed. "Too much depends on this." "Well, you've got about 12 hours to recover before the next trial," Dr. Parker said, "and according to the information Amy found, the mental challenges tomorrow night are going to be even harder." Jake closed his eyes and tried not to think about what the next night would bring. He had survived the first trial, but just barely. He still had 2 more nights to go, and he was already pushed beyond his limits. But Princess Zara had seemed genuinely impressed by his different approach to the challenges. Maybe being human, with all the weaknesses that came with it, could actually be an advantage in ways he hadn't expected. As he drifted off to sleep, Jake could only hope that his human creativity would be enough to get him through the next 2 trials alive. Jake woke up feeling like he had been hit by a truck, but Dr. Parker's medical treatments had helped him recover faster than he thought possible. As the sun set over Velthos Prime, he found himself in a different chamber than the night before. This room was quieter and filled with soft purple light. The walls were covered with complex patterns that seemed to move when he looked at them. Princess Zara was already waiting for him. She wore a flowing robe covered in symbols that matched the patterns on the walls. She looked calm and peaceful, like she was meditating. "Welcome to the Chamber of Minds," she said softly. "Tonight, we test whether our thoughts can work together, in harmony." "What exactly does that mean?" Jake asked nervously. High Counselor Vex entered the room carrying a large, glowing crystal that floated above his hands. "The second trial has 3 parts," he explained. "First, you must solve the ancient puzzles together. Second, you must play the game of strategic thinking. Third, you must join your minds through meditation and see if your thoughts can become one." Jake felt his heart sink. He was good at solving problems, but these sounded like tests designed for super-intelligent aliens. And the mind-joining part sounded impossible. Humans didn't have telepathic abilities like the Velthari. Up on the Starbound, Communications Officer Nina Torres was working frantically in her lab. She had spent the entire day building a device that might help Jake with the mental challenges. "Captain," Nina's voice came through Jake's earpiece, "I've created a neural interface that can translate your brain waves into patterns that Velthari minds can understand. It won't make you telepathic, but it might let Princess Zara sense your thoughts during the meditation part." Jake touched the small device that Nina had hidden behind his ear. It felt warm against his skin and made a very faint humming sound. The first challenge was the ancient puzzles. Princess Zara led Jake to a table covered with geometric shapes made of crystal. The shapes could be combined in different ways to form larger patterns. "These puzzles have been used for thousands of years to test Velthari minds," Princess Zara explained. "We must work together to solve them. There are 12 puzzles, and they get harder as we go." The first few puzzles were difficult but manageable. Jake discovered that his human way of thinking was different but useful. Where Princess Zara approached the puzzles with elegant, flowing logic, Jake used trial and error, testing different combinations until something worked. "You think in a very chaotic way," Princess Zara said with curiosity as they solved the fourth puzzle. "But somehow your chaos finds order. How is this possible?" "I guess humans are just used to dealing with messy situations," Jake said. "We don't have telepathy or perfect memory like you do, so we had to learn to figure things out by experimenting." The eighth puzzle was a three-dimensional maze made of moving crystal pieces. Princess Zara could see the solution immediately with her superior spatial reasoning, but her elegant approach wasn't working because the pieces kept changing position. Jake tried a different strategy. Instead of trying to solve the maze perfectly, he started moving pieces randomly, watching how they affected the other pieces. After several minutes of seemingly random movements, a pattern emerged. "I think I understand," Princess Zara said with excitement. "You are not trying to control the puzzle. You are learning from it and adapting." They solved the remaining puzzles working as a team. Princess Zara would see the logical structure, and Jake would find creative ways to work with the changing elements. By the time they finished, both of them were thinking in new ways. The second challenge was the game of strategic thinking. It was like chess, but played on a sphere with pieces that could move in 3 dimensions. There were also special rules that changed randomly throughout the game. Princess Zara was clearly the better player. Her mind could calculate dozens of moves ahead and predict all the possible outcomes. Jake kept losing pieces and making what looked like terrible moves, but after an hour of play, something strange happened. Jake's seemingly random strategy started to work. He wasn't trying to win through perfect planning like Princess Zara. Instead, he was creating situations that were so chaotic and unpredictable that even Princess Zara's superior mind couldn't calculate all the possibilities. "This is fascinating," Princess Zara said as Jake's chaotic strategy put her in an impossible position. "You are using uncertainty as a weapon. I have never seen this approach before. Humans are really good at dealing with situations we can't control," Jake explained as he made another seemingly crazy move. "We call it thinking outside the box." The game ended in a draw, which High Counselor Vex said was extremely rare. Most games ended with a clear winner, but Jake's unconventional strategy had created a situation where neither player could gain a decisive advantage. The third and final challenge was the most difficult. Jake and Princess Zara had to sit across from each other and attempt to join their minds through meditation. For Velthari, this was a natural ability that developed during childhood. For humans, it should have been impossible. "Close your eyes and focus on your breathing," Princess Zara said softly. "Try to quiet your thoughts and open your mind to mine." Jake did as she asked, but his human brain was too busy and chaotic. Random thoughts kept popping up. Worries about the mission, memories from childhood, even what he had eaten for breakfast. Princess Zara's mind felt calm and organized, like a peaceful lake. Jake's mind felt like a thunderstorm. Nina's neural interface device began to work harder, translating Jake's chaotic thoughts into patterns that Princess Zara could understand. At first, Princess Zara seemed confused by what she was sensing. "Your mind is so active," she said with wonder. "There are so many thoughts happening at the same time. How do you function with all this noise in your head?" "I guess we just learn to work with it instead of fighting it," Jake said, still keeping his eyes closed and trying to meditate. As the meditation continued, something unexpected happened. Princess Zara began to experience human thoughts and emotions for the first time. She felt Jake's determination to succeed, his worry about his crew, his amazement at meeting alien life, and his growing respect for her and her people. But she also felt things that were completely foreign to Velthari minds. She experienced humor, the human ability to find something funny even in serious situations. She felt hope, the human tendency to believe things would work out even when logic suggested otherwise. She experienced curiosity about the unknown instead of fear. "These emotions," Princess Zara whispered, "they are so strange but so powerful. You carry great sadness but also great joy at the same time. How do you bear such contradictions?" "That's Just what it means to be human, Jake said. We don't really have a choice. We just keep going and try to make the best of whatever happens. Through the neural interface, Jake began to sense Princess Zara's thoughts as well. Her mind was like a vast library, filled with thousands of years of Velthari knowledge and wisdom, but he also sensed something else: loneliness. The Velthari were so perfect and organized that they rarely experienced surprise or genuine discovery. "You're lonely," Jake said with sudden understanding. "Your people are so advanced that nothing is really new anymore. Everything is planned and predicted." "Yes," Princess Zara admitted. "We have achieved great things, but we have lost the ability to be surprised by life. Your chaotic, unpredictable mind is like a gift. Every thought you have is something I could never have imagined." The meditation session lasted for hours. By the end, Jake and Princess Zara had achieved something that High Counselor Vex said was unprecedented: a true mental connection between two completely different species. "You have passed the second trial," High Counselor Vex announced as dawn broke through the crystal windows. "But you have done more than that. You have shown us that different ways of thinking can complement each other instead of competing." Jake was exhausted but also exhilarated. The mental connection with Princess Zara had been unlike anything he had ever experienced. He felt like he understood the Velthari in a way that no human ever had before. "How do you feel?" Princess Zara asked, as they prepared to leave the meditation chamber. "Different," Jake said honestly. "Like my brain has been stretched in new directions. How about you?" "I feel curious," Princess Zara said with a smile. "For the first time in many years, I am genuinely excited to see what will happen next. Your human unpredictability is contagious." As Jake was escorted back to his recovery room, he overheard Princess Zara talking excitedly to High Counselor Vex in their own language. Amy Collins, who had been studying their language, translated quietly through his earpiece. "She's telling him that humans might be the most fascinating species she's ever encountered," Amy said. "She says our chaotic thinking patterns could teach the Velthari new ways to approach problems they've been stuck on for centuries." Jake smiled as he collapsed onto his bed. 2 trials down, 1 to go. But the hardest trial was still ahead: the spiritual connection that would determine whether their bonding was truly complete. Dr. Parker checked his vital signs and shook her head in amazement. "Jake, your brain activity during that meditation was off the charts. Whatever happened in there, it changed your neural patterns permanently. You're not quite the same person who went in." "Is that bad?" "Jake." The third night brought Jake to a chamber unlike any he had seen before. The walls were made of pure white crystal that seemed to glow from within, and the ceiling showed a perfect view of the stars above Velthos Prime. In the center of the room was a shallow pool of water that reflected the starlight like a mirror. Princess Zara was waiting for him, wearing simple white robes that matched the crystal walls. She looked peaceful but also nervous, which surprised Jake. She had been confident during the previous 2 trials. "This is the most important night," she said quietly. "Tonight we must share our deepest beliefs and connect our souls. If we cannot do this, then the previous trials mean nothing." Jake felt his stomach clench with worry. He wasn't a particularly religious person, and he had no idea how to connect souls with an alien being. "What exactly do I need to do?" High Counselor Vex entered the chamber carrying an ancient book made of crystal pages. "The spiritual trial requires you to share your most sacred memories and beliefs with each other," he explained. "You must experience each other's deepest truths and find harmony between them." "But what if we don't have the same beliefs?" Jake asked. "What if our souls are too different?" "That is what we will discover tonight," Princess Zara said. "In our culture, this trial determines whether 2 beings are truly meant to be together. Many Velthari couples fail at this stage because they cannot bridge the differences in their spiritual paths." High Counselor Vex began the ceremony by lighting crystal candles around the pool of water. The flames were different colors: blue, green, purple, and gold, and they cast dancing shadows on the walls. "Princess Zara will share first," High Counselor Vex said. "Captain Morrison, you must look into the sacred pool and witness her memories as if they were your own." Princess Zara knelt beside the pool and placed her hands on the water's surface. The water began to glow, and images appeared in its depths like a movie screen. Jake saw the history of the Velthari people through Princess Zara's eyes. He experienced their near extinction thousands of years ago when their sun began to die. He felt their desperate struggle to find new worlds and rebuild their civilization. He witnessed their slow, careful development of advanced technology and their deep respect for order and tradition. But he also felt something else, the terrible loneliness that came with perfection. The Velthari had become so advanced and so organized that they rarely experienced genuine surprise or discovery. Every day was planned, every problem had a known solution, and every person knew exactly what their role in society should be. "We achieved everything we dreamed of," Princess Zara's voice whispered in his mind. "But in doing so, we lost the ability to dream new dreams. We became prisoners of our own success." The images in the pool showed Princess Zara's personal struggles. As a member of the royal family, her entire life had been planned before she was born. She would rule wisely, marry appropriately, and continue the traditions of her ancestors. But she secretly longed for something unexpected, something that would make her feel truly alive again. When the images faded, Jake felt like he understood the Velthari in a completely new way. They weren't just advanced aliens. They were a people who had sacrificed their spontaneity for security and their creativity for perfection. "Now it is your turn," High Counselor Vex said to Jake. "Share your deepest spiritual truths with Princess Zara." Jake knelt beside the pool, feeling nervous. His life seemed so simple and chaotic compared to the ancient wisdom of the Velthari. But he placed his hands on the water and tried to share his most important memories and beliefs. The pool began to show images from Jake's life, but also from human history in general. Princess Zara saw humanity's long struggle to survive on a dangerous planet. She witnessed wars, natural disasters, diseases, and countless failures. But she also saw something remarkable. Humans never gave up. She experienced the human capacity for hope, even in impossible situations. She felt their ability to find humor in the darkest moments, and their tendency to help each other during emergencies. She witnessed their endless curiosity about the unknown, and their willingness to take risks for the chance of discovery. "Your people live such short lives," Princess Zara whispered as she watched the images. "But you fill them with so much intensity. How do you bear the uncertainty of not knowing what tomorrow will bring?" "We don't really have a choice," Jake's voice replied in her mind. "We're not strong enough or smart enough to control everything, so we learn to adapt instead. Every day is an adventure because we never know what's going to happen." The images showed Jake's personal journey, his childhood dreams of exploring space, his training as a starship captain, his excitement at meeting alien life for the first time. Princess Zara felt his sense of wonder at the vast universe and his deep love for his crew, who had become like family to him. But she also felt his fears and doubts. Jake was terrified that he might fail and cause a war between humans and Velthari. He worried that he wasn't smart enough or strong enough for such an important mission. Yet despite his fears, he kept trying because that's what humans did. They kept going even when they didn't know if they could succeed. When the images faded, Princess Zara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Your people's beliefs are so different from ours. We seek order and perfection. You embrace chaos and uncertainty. How can such different souls find harmony?" "Maybe that's exactly why they can," Jake said with sudden insight. "You have everything planned out, but you've lost the ability to be surprised. We live in chaos, but we've learned to find joy in unexpected moments. Maybe we each have something the other needs." High Counselor Vex was watching them with great interest. The final part of the spiritual trial requires you to experience each other's greatest fear and greatest hope. Are you both prepared for this? Jake and Princess Zara looked at each other across the glowing pool. Both nodded, though. Jake felt his heart pounding with nervousness. "I will share my fear first," Princess Zara said. She placed her hands back on the water, and new images appeared. Jake experienced Princess Zara's deepest terror, that the Velthari would continue to become more perfect and more organized until they lost all creativity and spontaneity completely. She feared that her people would become like beautiful statues, technically flawless but completely lifeless. But then she shared her greatest hope. Through her connection with Jake, she had discovered that it was possible to be both wise and spontaneous, both advanced and curious. She hoped that contact with humans might teach the Velthari how to rediscover the joy of uncertainty and the excitement of genuine discovery. When it was Jake's turn, he shared his greatest fear, that humanity would remain alone in the universe, too weak and primitive to earn the respect of advanced alien civilizations. He was terrified that humans would always be seen as the backward species that others either ignored or pitied. But his greatest hope was that humans could prove their worth through determination and creativity instead of raw power or intelligence. He hoped that other species would see value in humanity's chaotic, unpredictable nature and accept them as equals in the galactic community. As they shared these deepest truths, something extraordinary happened. The pool of water began to rise into the air, forming a sphere of liquid light that surrounded both Jake and Princess Zara. They found themselves floating in a space that seemed to exist between their two minds. "This is the joining of souls," Princess Zara said with wonder. "I can feel your human spirit mixing with my Velthari essence. We are becoming something new." Jake felt it too. His chaotic human thoughts were being organized by Princess Zara's ancient wisdom, while her perfect Velthari logic was being energized by his unpredictable creativity. They were still themselves, but they were also something more. A bridge between two completely different ways of understanding the universe. The sphere of light began to show them visions of the future. They saw humans and Velthari working together, combining human innovation with Velthari knowledge to achieve things that neither species could accomplish alone. They saw new discoveries, new worlds, and new possibilities that could only exist through cooperation between chaos and order. "We are compatible," Princess Zara said as the light began to fade and they slowly descended back to the chamber floor. "Not because we are the same, but because we are perfectly different. Your chaos gives meaning to my order. My wisdom gives direction to your creativity." High Counselor Vex was staring at them in amazement. "In all the centuries I have overseen bonding rituals, I have never seen a spiritual connection this strong. You have not just passed the trial, you have created something entirely new." Jake felt exhausted but also strangely complete. The 3 nights of trials had pushed him beyond his limits, but they had also shown him something important. Humans didn't need to be the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy. Their value lay in their ability to adapt, to find new solutions, and to bring unexpected perspectives to old problems. "The bonding is complete," High Counselor Vex announced formally. "Princess Zara and Captain Jake Morrison are now joined in spirit according to the ancient laws of the Velthari Empire." As dawn broke through the crystal ceiling, Jake realized that everything had changed. He was technically married to an alien princess, but more. The morning after the spiritual bonding brought a massive celebration throughout the Velthari capital city. Jake could hear music and cheering from his recovery room window as thousands of aliens celebrated the successful completion of the 3-night ritual. According to Velthari law, he and Princess Zara were now officially married. Dr. Parker was checking Jake's vital signs and shaking her head in disbelief. "Captain, I honestly don't know how you're still alive. Your body has been through more stress in 3 days than most people experience in a lifetime." "I feel different," Jake admitted. "Like the bonding changed something fundamental about me. Is that possible?" "At this point, I'm willing to believe anything," Dr. Parker said. "Your brain patterns have definitely changed, and there seem to be new neural pathways that weren't there before. The spiritual connection with Princess Zara may have actually altered your consciousness at a biological level." Amy Collins entered the room with her translator device and a worried expression. "Captain, we need to talk about what happens next. Technically, you're married to the most important princess in the Velthari Empire. That makes you a member of their royal family by law." Jake sat up in bed, suddenly concerned. "What does that mean for the crew, for our mission?" "That's what we need to figure out," Amy said. "Princess Zara has called for a formal announcement ceremony in 1 hour. The entire royal court will be there, along with representatives from all the major Velthari colonies. An hour later, Jake found himself standing in the great throne room wearing formal Velthari robes that had been specially made for his human size. Princess Zara stood beside him, looking radiant in golden robes covered with precious crystals. The room was packed with hundreds of Velthari nobles, all watching with great interest. High Counselor Vex stepped forward to address the crowd. "Citizens of the Velthari Empire," he said in a voice that carried throughout the massive chamber, "we have witnessed something unprecedented. Princess Zara has successfully completed the sacred bonding ritual with Captain Jake Morrison of the human species." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Jake felt overwhelmed by the positive reaction. He had expected some aliens might be upset about their princess marrying an outsider. However, High Counselor Vex continued, and the crowd grew quiet. "The princess has something important to announce about the nature of this bonding." Princess Zara stepped forward, and her voice was amplified by crystals throughout the room. "My beloved people," she said, "the bonding with Jake has been successful beyond our wildest expectations. We have achieved true spiritual harmony between our species." She paused and looked at Jake with a warm smile. "But we have also learned something important about the differences between our cultures. Jake comes from a people who value individual choice and personal freedom above all else. To force him to abandon his duties and his crew would betray the very qualities that made our bonding possible." Jake was surprised. He had been worried that Princess Zara would expect him to stay on Velthos Prime permanently and become a full-time member of the royal family. "Therefore," Princess Zara continued, "I propose something that has never been done before in Velthari history. Jake and I will honor the bonding by creating a new type of marriage, one that spans the stars themselves." She gestured to the viewing screens around the throne room, which now showed images of space and the Starbound in orbit above. "Jake will return to his ship and continue his duties as a captain and explorer. I will remain here and continue my responsibilities as a princess and future ruler, but we will maintain our spiritual connection across any distance." The crowd murmured with surprise and curiosity. This was clearly not what anyone had expected. "More importantly," Princess Zara said, raising her voice, "our successful bonding proves that humans and Velthari are far more compatible than we ever imagined. I propose that we establish not just a trade agreement with Earth, but a full cultural and scientific partnership." High Counselor Vex stepped forward with an ornate crystal scroll. "The Royal Council has discussed this proposal," he announced, "and we have voted unanimously to approve it. The Velthari Empire will enter into the most comprehensive alliance in our history with the human species." Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. What had started as a simple trade mission had turned into humanity's greatest diplomatic victory. But Princess Zara wasn't finished. "There is more," she said. "The 3-night bonding ritual has shown us that Jake's human qualities, his adaptability, creativity, and refusal to give up, represent strengths that we Velthari have lost over the centuries. We propose a new program of cultural exchange." Xiame gestured to several Velthari nobles in the crowd. "Volunteer members of our species will travel to Earth to learn human ways of thinking and problem-solving. In return, humans will be welcome to study our advanced technology and ancient wisdom. Together, we can achieve things that neither species could accomplish alone." The crowd erupted in the loudest cheers Jake had heard yet. Even the usually stoic Velthari seemed excited about this unexpected development. After the ceremony, Jake found himself in a private room with Princess Zara and High Counselor Vex. Amy Collins was there as well, frantically taking notes on everything that had been discussed. "I can't believe you're letting me go back to my ship," Jake said to Princess Zara. "I thought the bonding meant I had to stay here permanently." "The bonding taught me something important about human nature," Princess Zara replied. "You would never be truly happy if you were forced to give up your life as an explorer. And a Jake who was not truly happy could never maintain the spiritual connection we have created. But won't your people think it's strange that your husband lives on a spaceship instead of in the palace?" Princess Zara laughed, a sound like crystal bells ringing. "My people have been doing the same things in the same ways for thousands of years. A little strangeness might be exactly what we need. High Counselor Vex spread out several documents on the table. The terms of the alliance are quite generous, he said. Humans will have access to our advanced medical technology, our faster-than-light communication systems, and our star charts for this entire region of the galaxy. What do you want in return? Amy asked suspiciously. Cultural exchange programs? Joint exploration missions, and most importantly, Princess Zara said with a smile, more humans like Jake who can teach us how to think in new ways. Your species has something we have lost, the ability to find creative solutions to impossible problems. Jake shook his head in amazement. 3 days ago, I thought I had accidentally started a war. Now you're telling me that nearly getting killed 3 nights in a row has somehow made humans valuable allies? Your survival of the bonding ritual will become legendary among our people, High Counselor Vex said seriously. Humans will be known as the endurance species, physically weaker than most galactic civilizations, but with an unbreakable will to adapt and overcome any obstacle. Over the next few hours, Jake and Amy worked with Velthari officials to finalize the details of the alliance. It was more comprehensive than anything humanity had dreamed of achieving. Trade agreements, technology sharing, joint scientific research, cultural exchange programs, and mutual defense pacts were all included. There is one more thing, Princess Zara said as they prepared to conclude the negotiations. She handed Jake a small crystal device. This is a quantum communicator. No matter how far apart we are, we can talk to each other instantly. The spiritual bond we created is real, and distance cannot break it. Jake accepted the device, feeling its warm weight in his hand. Will I see you again? Oh yes, Princess Zara said with certainty. I have a feeling that our paths will cross many times in the future. The universe has become a much smaller place now that our species are truly connected. 2 days later, Jake was back on the bridge of the Starbound as it prepared to leave orbit around Velthos Prime. His crew was still processing everything that had happened. So let me get this straight, said Dr. Parker. You accidentally got engaged to an alien princess, nearly died 3 times, got married in the most bizarre ceremony in galactic history, and somehow negotiated the greatest alliance deal in human history? That about sums it up, Jake said, with a grin. And how exactly do I write this up in my medical reports? Dr. Parker asked. Very carefully, Jake suggested. Amy Collins was still working on her official diplomatic report. Captain, I've been in the diplomatic corps for 15 years, and I have no idea how to explain what happened here. We came for a simple trade agreement and ended up with a full alliance, cultural exchange programs, and access to technology that could advance human civilization by centuries. Sometimes the best outcomes happen when you're not trying to control everything, Jake said. Maybe that's the real lesson here. The quantum communicator on Jake's belt chimed softly. He activated it, and Princess Zara's voice filled the bridge. How does it feel to be heading home, my beloved husband? She asked with amusement in her voice. Strange, Jake admitted. I'm married to an alien princess, but I'm going back to my regular job exploring space. It's not exactly a typical situation. There is nothing typical about humans, Princess Zara said. That is what makes you so fascinating. Safe travels, Jake. I will be monitoring your progress through our